Welcome to our integration story. We've heard a lot of integration stories today, and you're probably going to see some similarities in our story too. Here's our agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about us. So we're going to give you a little bit of information on CHKD. We're going to do our data strategy, our landscape, kind of what did things look like before we brought DI on. And wow, that is really bright. Yeah. And I need my sunglasses. What our journey was, and then we're going to wrap up with kind of what did we learn from it all. But I would love for it to be interactive. So if anybody has any questions along the way, or we say something and you're like, but what about, I would love to hear it. You don't have to wait till the end. So I'm MJ Darling. I've been doing this a really long time. So I started in healthcare right out of college, and I just stayed there the whole time. So I've worked with a lot of the vendors, did a little health plan work for a while, did consulting for about 15 years. I implemented EMR systems in about 25 hospitals. Then decided to really focus on data analytics. It was something I just loved. So found my home at CHKD in 2019, and it's really been a wonderful journey. And I'm a new grandma. So it was really hard not to share a baby picture in my slides, but I held off. And Phil, I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right. I'm Phil Watson. I have 12 years experience in healthcare IT. I've held many positions from a business analyst all the way to product owner for a mobile application for a healthcare company. I'm fairly new with CHKD. I've been there for 2.5 years as a data analyst, developer, depending on the day. That tends to change here and there. And previously, I had 5 years consulting right here in Washington, D.C. A couple of fun facts about me. I have 2 dogs. Both are labs. One's a lab basset hound, so we call him a bassador. Looks like a lab, has small little legs, so he's awesome. I have a son, and I have one on the way in about 4 weeks, so looking forward to that. And I'm a huge baseball fan. I coach baseball. When I lived in D.C., I regularly attended the Nationals, so baseball is another love of mine.
And this picture was taken before COVID, and I got a lot of gray hair since then, but Phil looks the same, so that's amazing. All right, am I next? Yep. All right, a little bit about CHKD. We have a cool little screen over here. Hang on. It's 266 beds. We are the leading pediatric hospital in the area. I like to show a couple pictures of our facilities. So the picture in the forefront is our main hospital. And then we're very proud of a mental health building that we've just built. That's in the background. It's a 14-story children's pavilion, and it is just for mental health patients. And in March, we started seeing outpatients, and in October, we're going to go live with inpatient beds. So that's been a really big endeavor of ours, and we're really proud of it. We also implemented a state-of-the-art NICU in 2020. And there's some of our stats. I won't read them, but we've been very busy too. And when Children's National spoke, it's been a really busy year. And COVID kind of hit us late. We didn't really have the bubble that other hospitals did. We really saw it, and maybe you guys did too, between May and August of this year has just been wild, just unprecedented numbers. So we are worried about the flu season too. All right, I'm a little different than what I've been hearing around the room, and this is our first user conference, so it's really very exciting to meet others and know what other people are doing. But we are part of IT, and we don't call ourselves IT because our CIO believes that service should be in the name, that we are all about service, not just about technology. So we are under the IT umbrella, and so the IS division is made up of what you typically see in IS. We got biomedical, telecom, application support, technical support, but then in 2019, they put a position out for data analytics and said, you know what, we want to start a data analytics program, and we've got nothing here. I interviewed, and one of the guys that interviewed me said, do you really want this job because what you just inherited was a Jiffy Lube, and you've got no mechanics, you've got nobody making the coffee, and you've got cars lined up about 5 blocks. So are you really sure you want to do that? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, we can do this. So I came on in 2019, and really the only thing they handed me was, we would love for us to have a shared analytics service model at some point. We would like a one-stop shop. So we've got quality doing a lot of things, and we've got informatics doing a lot of things, and we've got, who knew we were going to have infection control doing a lot of things. And we would really like for folks to kind of come to one place and trust the data. So that's it. Good luck. See what you can do. And you have 0 people. I kind of started and I said the first 90 days we're just going to really listen to everybody. Like, what does everybody need? So we went and started a data governance group, and I was really fortunate that it had C-suite, VPs. I had great representation across the organization, and we looked at a couple of different things. We looked at, it was really hard work, but we said, what are our top 5 business drivers? And you see them there. And then I want everybody to be honest. What are our challenges? What are the things that you don't like right now? What is not working? And, it was a resounding data is in silos, and we've got to go here for one report and here for another report, and we really don't trust the data. And, we have data quality concerns, and I can't read the middle one. Oh, yeah. Process deficiencies. It was highly manual, like what everybody's been talking about today. There was just so many access databases and so many Excel spreadsheets that we really needed to rein it in. So at the end of that meeting, we said, what are our key data objectives? And we said, okay, if we want to create an analytics shared service, what do we need? And one of the first things they said is, can we have an analytics platform of data that we trust? And it's hard to believe that in 2019, we didn't have a warehouse. We had Epic running Clarity, and we had Cerner, but we didn't have a warehouse with consolidated data at all in our organization. So that was number one. Could we think about implementing something that really was the go-to place for data so we can start fostering a different culture around here? So we had all of these data management tasks that we really wanted to do, and we added on to that we wanted to do metadata management at the same time. So we did go with another vendor for our metadata management, and that's really where we've been doing our data catalogs and our business glossaries, so that as we're doing all of this work, we're keeping up with documenting it so everybody kind of knows, what we're doing and how we're doing it. So this was our landscape, and we've been seeing this when everybody's talking, but we had 3 primary systems. We had Epic, Allscripts, and Cerner. And when you see Cerner up there, Sean, you made me think of it. We have a cloverleaf diagram of all the systems that come into Cerner. And so that's true of all 3 of those big blocks that you see. So Epic has a lot of data coming into it from places, and Allscripts does, and so does Cerner. So we really wanted to focus on getting data out of those 3 silos first, and then we wanted to start looking at those departmental data. So all those access databases and all those spreadsheets that everybody's doing, what are the high-value ones that we need to focus on? And we were gonna start looking at some of our aggregate data, our HIE data, so CHA and some of the other ones down at the bottom. I'll be honest with you, we're not really doing much of that yet because the other 2 is huge. So that's really where we've been focusing our energy. So we went out there and looked for a vendor, and we settled on Dimensional Insight, and I'm so thrilled we did. And we named it KD Insight. So where you see that beautiful middle blue box, that's our warehouse of data that we are moving from all of those systems into Dimensional Insight. We still have some data stores. Down at the bottom, you're gonna see along the way, we have developed some of these to manage one-off issues. But as we move forward, we're gonna look more and more at making sure we ingest most of what we need into our warehouse. So over on the right, you're gonna see that, what are we trying to get out of this? What did we really wanna do? And it's okay to do all the reporting and all of that, but what we really wanted to get to was self-service. We wanted to deliver dashboards and reports that we didn't have to do all the time. You didn't have to call me for it. You have a way to do it yourself. So we didn't know what that bottom was going to look like, but what it has morphed into is a combination of Diport and Power BI. And what we're really excited about is we've moved the needle on that. And some folks have said, you know, how did you get adoption? But the ability to start giving people the ability to go in and look at the data themselves has been huge. And I don't want to steal Phil's thunder, but we did hospital operations first. And the fact that the COO can now, you know, go into admissions and drill down and see his case mix, or he can see, you know, any of those diveable dimensions you have in there, has been just so, it has been a game changer. So Phil's going to tell us how we did it because he's been integral in that.
Thank you, MJ. So during our integration journey, we really had two big objectives. We did have more objectives, but the two big things that we wanted to accomplish is having an overarching data warehouse for all of analytics. MJ talked about that a little bit earlier on how important that was going to be for CHKD. On top of that, support the dimensional insight applications, hospital operations, and the ED Advisor dashboard. And so we currently have 23 data extract feeds that we're maintaining between Epic, Allscripts, and Cerner, roughly 39 million records, probably a little bit more than that. And right now we're working with two dashboards, hospital operations and ED Advisor. I do want to give a quick shout out to Nora and Darius. They have been instrumental in helping us achieve what we've been able to achieve so far. Also, another shout out for ED Advisor. Jeanette's back in the back. She's with CHKD as well, so she stays in the back, but she's been instrumental in helping us get to where we are with the ED Advisor dashboard. And so the graph on the right-hand side, you can see all of our different extracts that are coming in, and I believe Kathleen had a diagram earlier that showed similar, so encounters, orders, procedures, diagnoses, all of those extracts are coming in. We're running some integrator scripts, some build scripts, Spectre build scripts, and then we're ultimately, you know, displaying those measures on a hospital operations dashboard and ED Advisor dashboard. We're also leveraging that data warehouse to support a dashboard for physician quality metrics and patient flow. Just to continue, you know, the overarching goal is to support more than just the dimensional insight applications. So we're expanding our warehouse to include all of analytics, including regulatory and quality reporting needs. Do you want to speak?
No, that's great.
Okay. All right, we're going to get into successes and the successes that we've achieved so far. We published our first executive dashboard, hospital operations, and that's a screenshot right there of what our end users see. It may look a little bit different from what others have shown because we use user groups and we only wanted to display 4 menu items. When you first bring on the application, you see many menu items, and throughout the process, we kind of learned that, okay, it may be overwhelming for the end user. Let's really give them what they want and what they can use. So then we customize hospital operations dashboard to display monthly measures versus budgeted measures. And I'm going to go a little bit more in detail in a couple of slides. And then we added and modified data extracts to support our business needs. So when we first started this journey, we received the data extracts, and you know, there's all these fields required and optional, but we're trying to think outside of this and what additional fields do we need to bring in to support future reporting needs. So there are other additional fields from Cerner, Epic, and Allscripts that we included in our data extracts because we knew we were going to need them for future reporting needs. To continue on our successes, we use all the knowledge and experience from hospital operations to pave the way to bring on our ED Advisor dashboard. And that was really crucial because we really learned what worked and what didn't work, and kind of a time frame that we could work with to bring that up. We added this trend view to ED Advisor dashboard when we first launched hospital operations in November of 2021. This particular pop-up, it was very popular. The users loved it, and when we brought on ED Advisor, we didn't see this, so we were able to copy over that pop-up screen into ED Advisor, and it's been great. The users love this one. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about a budget enhancement that we included as a customization to hospital operations dashboard. This was requested by our CEO. When we presented the product in November for our go live, the CEO said, I would love to be able to see our budgeted numbers versus our actual numbers every month. So we took that back. I called Darius and said, hey, can you do this for me? Just kidding. He did help though. But we went out onto the Dimensional Insight Design Library that I learned about last year in that user conference. We found the menu item that we thought that would fit, and we kind of went back and forth with a couple, but we landed on one that really worked for us. And it compares that whole menu, when you click into it, it compares budgeted volumes versus our actual monthly volumes. And let's see if I can get this. Okay, and this is kind of what it looks like. So we have our actual measures over on the left-hand side, and then in the right, kind of in the middle, budgeted, you can see what the budgeted numbers were, and this is showing for May of 2022. And so, again, this is what the CEO requested. This is what he wanted to see. So I know that he's thrilled with that. Going into a little bit deeper on how we were able to accomplish it. So we ingest a yearly budget file where those budgeted numbers are presented for the whole year. We brought those in using Inspector Build, and we loaded it into our data sources build. This is where our final C bases are for when Measure Factory runs. And then number 3 down here where you see category, I know it's kind of hard to read, but we added a bunch of different individual measures for Measure Factory to calculate that budgeted column. Some of the challenges, lessons learned, and what's coming up next. So our challenges, just like I've heard other folks mention, is learning a new software, not only for us in IT or IS, but also educating the end user on how to use that. We ended up creating a quick reference guide. It's a front and back page that we can send out to the end user, and it gives them guidance on how to use that dashboard. Incorporate data from multiple healthcare systems. So we knew we were going to have a challenge in incorporating our data extracts from Cerner, Epic, and Allscripts. Understand the business process. So this is a big one for me because I'm used to getting requests to say, hey, I need this and this and this. But if I can understand why they need it, there might be, a better way of doing things. So that was a challenge as well, especially for me being new to the company that we faced. And establish owners of the data. I think Greg talked about this earlier, is having someone owning that data. We can pull the data in and create these measures, but we really need somebody to say, yes, this is right, this looks good, let's sign off on it. Some of our lessons learned: not all data sets are created equal. So one field in all scripts doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as Cerner. I learned this the hard way. We'll pull something in and, oh, it says the field name is the similar. No, call up the end user. Well, we use that field for something else. So that was a big lesson learned throughout this whole process. Business owner input and process review is vital to success. Again, I think Greg talked about this earlier. Really having someone take ownership of the data and review the data to make sure that it's accurate.
I want to interject something there, Phil. You know, something else that I think has been really helpful, and I've heard it in a couple of other sessions, is buy-in from the top. So that's been really key for us. I think that along the way, and especially when COVID hit and, 2020 was just so challenging, that it was hard for everybody to kind of get that momentum back and get excited about projects when resources were so low and we didn't have nurses and I can't get the ED to look at their numbers. There's just so many reasons why oh, let's just wait. But we have a data governance committee, and I would highly recommend, if anybody is struggling with that, maybe we can talk offline, but that committee has been instrumental, and they help me set priorities, not help me, but help the organization set priorities, and it gives me opportunity every quarter to talk about data governance topics, data quality issues. We have an open forum, and I have a voice in a meeting where you have a lot of people who can weigh in. So I would just highly encourage, if that's something you're struggling with, we can maybe talk about that. It was well adopted, and it's been really helpful for us to kind of keep momentum.
Yeah, and one of the things we learned going through hospital operations and moving into ED Advisor is we'd have these meetings and we'd go over the measures, and you bring in an ED doc who has worked a shift overnight and you're presenting them with 200 measures, and you start to lose them after you get to 20 or so. So we've kind of adapted a more of an agile approach for our ED advisors. So instead of giving them 200 measures up front and having them validate it, we started with just major volumes. Like, let's give you the top 15. You tell us if it looks good. We'll enable those measures in that menu item for you, and then we'll go to the next one. So I think that's been really key to keep things moving when it started to seem like it was stalling for a bit. Last lesson learned is always keep the department goals in mind when making decisions. This kind of goes back to, we're treating this as a data warehouse, not only to support ED Advisor dashboard and hospital operations, but future reporting needs for all of data analytics.
And with this being under IT, this one was key because, a lot of the folks we've been talking to are in the trenches. You're in quality, or you're in pharmacy, or you're in departments. This one, it was big because it can't be my idea. If it's IT's idea, hardly anybody really wants to do it. So we realized that, we've got to keep our thumb on operations, and we've got to be very conscious of what's hot right now might not be hot tomorrow, and that's okay. We can pivot, and we can kind of move in the direction that makes the most sense.
Yeah. And so what's next for us is Surgery Advisor. So we're already starting on Surgery Advisor. The next one is increasing utilization of the dashboards. So the dashboards are only good if folks are using them. So trying to bring more awareness. You can get to it from our intranet page. So things like that we're doing to try to increase utilization. We send out a monthly tip just to kind of re-engage folks. Hey, this is something you can do with the dashboard, something that they might not be aware of. So we try to keep it interesting.
We do an office hours once a week too,
Yep.
and it's not caught fire yet, but I'm still hopeful it will. But it's an open hour because we have executive leadership using this, and nobody wants to say they don't know how to use it. So we were like, you know what, we're just gonna have an hour, and this is an open WebEx, and you can just join it if you want, and you can hear what other people are asking about, or you can get one-on-one help, and it's nothing you had to schedule, it's nothing that you had to tell anybody about, you just have to join the 1 hour, and we'll help you.
And then lastly, continue to use our data warehouse to fulfill any ad hoc requests. So I know MJ gets them a lot every single day. So as we continue to fine-tune the data warehouse, it's becoming more and more easier to go in there and quickly dive on the data, produce a report, and send that out. Instead of waiting, 4 days to turn around that report request, we're aiming to turn around it within the same day. So.
And as Greg mentioned, we're trying to standardize our measures. So if I know that we've got, a measure like referral rate, when I see that request come in, we're going to take that out of the warehouse because I know that's the number I'm sharing with other people too. And maybe that's a big plus of it being under IT is we get to see all of the things that people are asking for. So the minute, I connect the dots and it's like, oh, wait a minute, somebody just asked for that like 2 months ago and we all trust the number here. This is what we're going to share. So that's been wonderful. And that every month that gets better and better.
And that's it. Do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a few. I'm blinded.
In general, so you two run the workbench and build the integrated scripts and that in the workbench itself?
So I have a team of 8.
Okay.
I'm gonna repeat the question
Okay.
real quick, just so I don't get in trouble for not doing it. So the question or statement was, MJ and I, we work within Workbench, create the measures, and work within ProDiver and DivePort, correct?
So we have a team of 8, but really there's Jeanette and Phil are the primary users right now that are in Workbench and creating measures and working with the data feeds.
Next question? Yes.
When you did your budget comparison, you created a measure category with your budgeted measures, but how do you display those on that matrix purpose? Do you not use an off measure instead?
So we didn't put it in that aux.
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. God. All right, so the question was when we created the budgeted measures, we didn't put them in the aux category. We created a separate category. We could have put them there. It was by design that we created a new category. That way, we have 3 people that go into the config file and check things out every now and then. So we try to keep the nomenclature the same throughout the whole process of loading the data in and where the measures are being generated. So that's the reason why we brought in a separate category for that.
How do you display them on the matrix side by side?
How do we display them on the matrix? So there's a little bit of trickery involved with it. So it's not like when you go through the UI on the front end and you edit the page and you pull in your measures, you kind of have to, we basically brought in, each one was an individual matrix portlet and we displayed the measures that way. So it's a little bit of trickery behind it. I did hear something in the earlier session about the stamps that we may be able to do in the future.
Great presentation. I think, and Nora, I'll have to hit you up after too. But I like the approach of how you guys are doing it more from a personnel type, because now we're gonna have to go back to our dashboard and change it to like pharmacists, tech messengers, and then you can actually drill in like how you guys have positions, ED, surgery. So I think that was really good. But my question is, in terms of your workbench, like what was it like with bandwidth, having low bandwidth, and like how are you guys able to, or have you guys been able to navigate like with call outs and vacancies and all that stuff? How are you guys able to work with like everyone's bandwidth and not burn people out with random?
It's challenging.
So the question was, how do we work with the bandwidth of Workbench and working in there, correct?
So Phil can't ever be sick.
I can't be sick and I don't sleep, so. No.
No, it is challenging. You know what we do a lot of, and we've done this in other areas too, so we're trying to adopt it in this application as well, is doing some buddy system work. So while Phil is working in it, we wanted to bring Jeanette up to speed. So, you know, they kind of work together. We use Azure DevOps to manage all of our work items, our enhancements, and we kind of do sprints out of there. So that's been helping us too, keep track of when the CEO asked for the budget stamp, that kind of went high up the list. But a lot of other people will ask for little things here and there, and we are documenting them in Azure DevOps. We are, we keep a nice dashboard. We prioritize them, we give them a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so the ones float to the top of the list, and then that's how we manage our sprints.
Any other questions?
We're talking about, we're gonna use that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really, if you want to see our dashboard, it's really kind of cool.
Okay.
I use a spreadsheet.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
so did we. So did we, yeah.
All right, thank you.